Hi, this is Nancy again, and I would like to share another card that I made for the Altenew August release of the Stamp and Die. This is the card that I want to show you and kind of go through some steps on how I made this. This is the Floral Art. And this is the new trifold. I hope you've been able to see some of these as the blog's gone on, that it's going to be the new insert starting August for the stamps, and it's a really, really nice trifold. You can see that it opens up and you have the layering guide in the middle. You have some recipes on the one side of different inks and other stamps they used, and then you have the layouts on the other side. There's 4 layouts in these 6x9 sets, so it shows you exactly what you can do and what products you need to duplicate this. I also would consider taking and cutting these out, then putting them in my MISTI and stamping on top of them. That way you can get the alignment correct and you can totally duplicate it if you'd like to do that. I believe this is just a fabulous ad for Altenew, and it's great. I don't know what else to say. So, moving on with my card, I want to show you how we're going to make this floral art card, and we're going to stamp it. I have some of the products already in my MISTI lined up, and we're going to use 4 different colors. We're going to use Pink Diamond. We're going to use Pinkalicious, that's for the flower. Then we're going to use Mountain Mist, and then we're going to use the Volcano Lake for the leaves, and we'll use just the jet black ink to do the outline on the flower. So I've got these lined up in my MISTI, and I want to do the large flower first. So I'm going to stamp it with the ink in the black. I probably could have very easily just done this one, but I figured I'd load some of them in my MISTI. I got a little bit of over stamping on some of mine, so I just needed to clean off some of those other stamps there. But we're going to stamp the outline. And this is really cool because you could just use the outline totally without any other colors. So I do really like this. You could also take this and you could color it with pencils, some of the new watercolor, the pan watercolors Altenew has, or even artist markers. Or just leave it this way with the black and white, or even reverse it, make it a white embossed image. So I've got that basic outline finished. And then what we need to do is we're going to layer the next level, the next color. And we're going to lay that, we're going to use the Pink Diamond. And I'm looking at my stamping guide, and you can see the little blue marks they have. Those are guides to help you line up this next layer. And this one's so forgiving that, you can layer it on there, and it is a very sketchy because you have a lot of white left in the flower after the color, but you can just lay it on there, use the guide. Then I'm going to stamp it up with the ink. These are brand new stamps, and I do have a kind of a juicy little ink pad there on that color, the Pink Diamond. So I've stamped the other small flower with the Pinkalicious, so I can do both of those at one time. And I try to use as much time, conserve my time as much as possible when I'm using my MISTI. So I'm looking at this, and when these dye inks are really good because they'll kind of just melt into the paper. This is the Nina Classic Crest White. So I just wanted to put a little more color on that layer before I took it off. So that one's basically, I've got those colors done. And now I want to move down to my leaves. I have those mounted. You don't know if you can see the stamps or not in my MISTI, but I'm going to stamp those leaves. And these are a single layer. So there's not 2 layers on these stamps. but I'm going to try to enhance the edges of them just a little bit. I like to do this just for some definition. So I'm going to stamp them in the Mountain Mist first. Now you could take your little ink pad, I have Volcano Lake, but I'm going to use a finger dauber, and I'm just going to pick up some ink with my finger dauber, and I'm just going to touch the edges of the stamp, and even on the stem, or just add a little bit of depth to these. I didn't want to double stamp them to really make them dark, so I'm just going to add a little bit around the edges of these. It really does help add, I think, a little bit more life to the flower, even though this is just or even the stem of the leaves, because it's a one layer type of stamp. Now, I typically, when I do something like this, I will stamp multiples. I have a thought in my head of what I want to do, but I'm going to just turn this piece of paper around in my MISTI and stamp a couple of more of these. So we'll just kind of zip through that. It's fast, it's easy, and just something that I have extras of. When I have all these extras too, I just stick them in the back of the pocket with my stamp. That way I got them for the next process and the next set that I do. So I've got my leaves all stamped up. Did that double kind of layer on there. Now what I want to do is I have a couple of extra touches that we need to do for the flowers. On the large flower, we have one more dark layer, and on the little pink flower, we have just there's a little center that you can put in there. There's a couple of different choices on this stamp set. You can add different centers to them, so I just picked the one that I like. I put it on a stamp block. Don't really think there's a need to stick it on the MISTI. I still use a lot of my stamp blocks when I'm layering some of these pieces and these little flowers. So stamp blocks are not a thing of the past, even though I have a MISTI. So I've got that little center done, and then I need to take and put the dark Pinkalicious accent in the center of the larger flower now. So once again, if you need to, you can pull out your layering guide. And again, it helps to turn the layering guide probably in the shape of, where you've kind of got it laid. And you can see on the layering guide where this little piece goes and the shape of it and kind of how you have to match a couple of things up. I did not lay this in my MISTI probably the way the guide is, which I probably could have done that. It might be helpful for you. But as you can see, if you just look at the layering guide, lay it the way the flower is, and lay in that last piece. Once again, this is a very sketchy flower, and it doesn't have to be perfect. This is probably one of my favorites in the set. I think it's got lots of possibilities, and there are a couple other flowers in here that I haven't even shown. So, turned out perfect. Love it. Very happy with it. And you can see that it looks like the layering guide, and we are good to go on this. So now these need to be cut out, and I have the stamp and the die set both. So I've got the Floral Art die, and it's got the dies. So we'll cut these out, and we'll move on into the construction of the card. So this is what we're trying to duplicate here, and I have a white top folding card base. I have a black layer, and then I have the white layer that we're going to put the dotty washi on. Okay, so I have my washi tape, and I'm just going to get a piece that is going to cover the card front, pretty much, and I'm going to lay it down, and I'm just going to cut a big hunk of this off. So I've just kind of got it tacked down on my table and cutting up. So that part's easy to do. I love this washi. It's perfect to cover a card front. It's probably one of my favorites of all times. So I'm peeling it back up because what I want to do is I want to take this. I'm just showing you it's going to fit the card front, but I want to tear it. I'm going to pick up a little silicone mat because I think it's sticking to my little cutting mat too much. So I'm going to lay it on the mat and I'm just going to rip it down. Give it a little bit of definition, help it kind of turn a little bit, and now I have two pieces that when I put them back together, I want to leave a little opening, kind of like a little river in there, and when I put them on the card, just for a little accent. Yeah, this would be interesting to put this on you could put it on a colored base if you'd like to. It's got a little translucency to it, so it would pick up that color off the back. But I wanted to just kind of leave a little bit of an opening there where there was no pattern at all. So I'm just going to press this down, work it up with my fingers. Again, this washi is forgiving when you put it on the card front, so it's easy to lay it on there. So I'm just going to trim around this now because I have the excess washi around there. So I'm just going to trim around that. I do have some good titanium non-stick blade scissors, which I find is really, really good when you're using things like this. I think I have most of my pairs are like this, so things just really don't stick and they don't gunk up that way. So now I've trimmed this off and this panel is going to be ready to go, and we can adhere it to our card. We can start doing some construction at this point. So I'm going to again pick up my card base, my black panel, and then my newly made washi panel. Nothing rocket science about this, just doing some layering. I do like to layer cards. I think it gives you a lot of it just really frames the project. So I tend to do at least one, if not two layers on my cards, leaving just about an 1/8 inch border on the black, and then we have a 4 by 5 1/4 on the dot washi panel. So now that's on there, and now we can try to put all of our little flowers on there. So pull out all the die cuts that I have, and we'll start putting those all on the card. So I tend to just kind of lay a bunch of them out. I'm going to work on duplicating my prototype that I have there. And I have different leaves, as I said, all my stash of things that I've cut. And what I do is I try to work it, out a pattern when I just start from the beginning. That's how I construct the card. So I can put this on exactly like I have it, but this is how I work from the beginning. I take the pieces that I have and I lay something out. And another good way to do this is if you've got a really, really nice setup on your card, take a picture of it. And then when you take all the pieces off to put, foam tape or the adhesive back on them, you can just look at the phone picture and you can put them all back where they need to go. So I use that resource a lot. I think most of us have phones, and that's just something easy to do. But I have my prototype over there, so I'm just kind of following that. So now I'm just going to, I foam taped up my flower so I can tuck things back in behind it. And I'm just using a little liquid adhesive to do this. Any type of adhesive's good, whatever's your favorite. And I'm just going to tuck these leaves back down in there. And you can basically put, different types of leaves. There were two really nice shapes on this particular set from the Floral Art. They do have one that's just a single leaf, but I found that these were really working well in these styles and these shapes, and they did a really nice job of filling the card front. So I've got those laid in there. I have lots of extras left over that I can decide whether I want to put more. You could layer these. You could pop dot up some of the other leaves on top if you wanted some dimension. I tend to do things in threes, odd numbers, so you can see I have kind of 3 sets of leaves, and the ones on the bottom look like they're somewhat vining down. And I have this little flower that I'm going to add on there. That's the darker Pinkalicious. So I've got my other pieces. I'm looking to see, do I want to put them on there? I just believe that it would be too much to do that. As I said, I like my threes and I like what I've done. So now I have a couple of final little projects, little pieces I need to add on here. I should say they are the accents that I'm going to use the candy dots here from the Reflections set, and I'm chosen black, and I've got like the big one and the little one for the centers. Then I also want to show you that if you don't have enough of the colors that you like, I use a black Sharpie. I do a lot of black centers. But if you have different color Sharpies or you have white candy dots, I just take and color them. This particular set has some smooth ones and some that kind of have like a little suede feel. But I'll just take and colorize some of the dots if I need another color. So I try to use everything I can, and I get a lot more bang for my buck that way. So the last thing I have is a sentiment, and I have already made the sentiment up on just a little piece of black cardstock with white embossing powder for the sentiment, sending love and hugs. And this came out of the new Hello Gorgeous stamp set from the Release. Another great stamp set, by the way. And I am just going to use a little foam tape, and I'm going to put it down here at the bottom. And we are done. I hope you enjoyed looking at this card, and you've been able to go through the blog hop and see all the gorgeous work from the designers. And I really appreciate you spending some time and watching me make this card. It's been a lot of fun. So go ahead and get some of these new stamp sets. Thanks for watching today.